On today's vlog, we're going to be playing Holi, the Festival of Colors by Floodgate Games. Let's play!
Every spring, celebrants gather to spread color and cheer during one of India's most vibrant festivals. With your friends, move around the festival grounds throwing colored gulal powder onto each other and the crowd. Aim higher and let your color fall from above on as many people as you can. For Holi is a time of playful mischief, and a little friendly rivalry is just what the festival calls for.
Hey Sarah, how's it going?
Hey, I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing good. So what are we playing today?
Today we are playing Holi, Festival of Colors from Floodgate Games. It's a 2 to 4 player game, plays in about 20 to 40 minutes, and as you can see,
This crazy thing going on right here?
it's quite unique. So it is a tabletop sort of representation of a real festival in India called Holi, the Festival of Colors. You may have seen pictures or video of this. Some of you may have even been lucky enough to partake in something like this. It's a really unique and beautiful festival where they participants get to throw this colored powder, and there are all different colors, and they throw it everywhere, and it ends up covering everything, like all of the surfaces, people, and it's just this really, really beautiful, super colorful, sort of street festival-esque thing. So this is sort of a tabletop representation of that experience where we are festival goers and we are celebrating Holi. And so we are going to be moving around these 3 different areas of the board here, distributing our powder, throwing the powder out, and covering these areas in color and sort of our own stamp. So the game is played over a series of rounds with each player taking a turn, and the game ends when, for you, when you either run out of cards to play or run out of tokens. When either one of those things happens, you sit out for the remainder of the game. When every player is out, the game ends. Whoever has the most points wins. There's a few different ways to get points. I'll come back to that in a minute. Let's talk a little bit about what you can do on your turn. So there are 3 actions that you can take on your turn. One of them you absolutely have to take. The other 2 are optional. The first action is that you have to throw powder, throw color, and you have to do that. So on most of the turns in the game, you are going to have 3 cards in your hand, and they might look something like this.
Well, the first round
in the first round you'll only have one card,
but
for
most
turns,
most of the turns
you'll have 3 cards in hand. So there are colored spaces here. Sometimes there are mandalas, and these are going to be how you throw your color. So you're going to select a card from your hand and you're going to play it if you can. You can only throw color if it would fall into empty spaces, spaces with sweets, or spaces with an opponent's sort of figure in them. That leaves spaces with an opponent's color in them that you can't cover over, or your own. So once color has been laid, you can't throw color over the top of it, but you can throw it onto your opponent's piece here. You can throw it into empty spaces, and you can throw it into spaces with sweets. So you select a card that you're going to use, and you're going to throw color in that way. Now, some of the cards, like I said, have a figure right here. If they have that figure on them, you have to be represented in that space by your piece. So let's pretend for a minute that my piece is right here, and I'm going to play this card. Now, I can orient this however I like, but when I play this card, I have to be represented by this mandala here. So if I was going to do that, I would put a piece here and here, and I would put a piece here. And that would be the fulfillment of this card right here. The cards that don't have that on there, my piece has to become one of those spaces. So this is fairly similar. This is still a diagonal line of 3 spaces, but in this one, I could do something like this if I wanted to, because my piece has to be one of these pieces, one of these colored squares. So on my turn, I have to start by throwing color, by placing tokens on the board like I've just done. After I've thrown color, I have a couple of things that I can do if I want to, but I don't have to. The first is that I can move, and you can move to any open space on your level of the board. So right now, I'm on the first level of the board. I can move to any open space here I want to, and getting sweets is usually a good thing. So maybe I'll move here and I'll take these sweets. I can also, on my turn, if I am surrounded orthogonally, let's just pretend that it looks like, let me get one or two of your tokens. Let's pretend just for a minute that the board is set up something like this, okay? Now, I can climb up to the next level if I am orthogonally sort of pinned into my space. So I have something to the left, I have something to the right, I have something in front and behind. I can move up one level. Now, I have to place myself in the exact same space, so there are numbers and letters here. I'm going to be on C4. So we're going to go up to the next level, and I'm going to find myself on C4. Now, as we are celebrating the festival and spreading our powder over the festival grounds, we will get points for all of our color that we are able to spread throughout the game. So on the first level, we'll get 1 point for every token we drop. On the second level, we'll get 2 points. And on the third level, we get 3 points. So you do kind of want to climb up and get your powder really flowing. But the interesting thing about this game is that when you throw powder on one of the upper levels, if there is not powder below it, then it will drop through the floor and sort of land on the space below. So let's pretend on a future turn I'm here and I decide to play this card. All right, so here's my guy. I have 3 pieces that I'm going to put out, and based on my card, they're going to go here. But the thing is, if you look down below in that same space, this one does have a piece below it. So this one's going to stay. These two don't. So these two are actually going to drop into this space here. So it's sort of got this multi-dimensional aspect to it where you're trying to sort of manipulate where you place your color so that you can score the most points and it doesn't just drop through. Or so that maybe if Nick would have been here and I would have placed my color here, it would have dropped through and landed on him. And that would have been good for me at the end of the game. I would have got some points for that. So, that's everything you can do on your turn. First thing is you have to throw powder. Next thing is you can move if you want to. And then the last thing is you can climb up if you want to, and you're contained orthogonally. So, like I said, the whole point of the game is to sort of spread your color as much as possible. You get points based on which level your color is in. You'll also get some points at the end of the game if you were able to throw color on another player, as I just did in this example here. So Nick would have to take this token for me, and I would get some points at the end of the game. If we had been on the same level and I had thrown powder at him, I'd also get extra points for a direct hit with the color. And then we will also get points for sweets we've collected. If you have more than other players, you'll get 5 points for every player who you have more than. And then finally, we'll get some points if we met the conditions of the 2 scoring cards that were set out at the beginning of the game. We add up all of our points. Whoever has the most points wins.
Awesome. Well, shall we get into it and come back midway through and talk a little bit more about it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. We'll get back to you guys midway through the game of Holi, the Festival of Colors. All right. Toodles. Hey, Sarah. How's it going? So how's mid-game for you?
So yeah, we're about halfway through the game, maybe a little bit more. So far, we've both been able to get up to the second level. Nick has been able to, what's it called? Direct hit me once with some color.
But likewise, you've done the same.
True. I've been collecting sweets, so I have quite a few sweets. I like sweets.
I do not.
I've also been trying to meet some of the public objectives.
Yeah, you've done those way better than I have.
I think that I have, yeah.
Yeah, I've just been trying to see how far, because in our warm-up game, we stayed at like the first 2 levels and maybe got to the last level for just a little bit.
Yeah.
But then in this game, I want to see how fast, because like I got out of the first level pretty quickly. I'm just trying to see if I can't get how high I can get and see how that changes the game.
It's definitely pretty interesting because when you left the first level, there wasn't that much color. There was some color down here, but not a ton. And that meant that it was going to be harder for you to place color that would stay on the second level. So I kind of spent a little bit more time down here, and I knew that I was kind of helping you because as I was placing color down here, then it was meaning that you had more spaces up here where your color wouldn't fall through. But I didn't want to get up to the second level and then have all my color keep falling through to the first level. Yeah. So,
but I was fortunate because a lot of my stuff was actually able to stay on the second level. Some of it fell. But.
Yeah. But I was also just thinking, and I probably shouldn't say this because I might be able to carry it off if I don't bring it to your attention, but I was also just thinking, so one of our public objectives is that we get 1 point for each color token in the largest connected area of your tokens on a single level. So down here on the primary level, or the first level, I have this big, huge group of tokens here, but then I have these 3 tokens off to the side that are not connected to this. And the only thing that would take is 1 token right here. And so I was thinking, okay, if I was able to place a token here, it'll actually fall through into this space, and then I will have connected these 3 tokens to the rest of my tokens for the purposes of the Rangoli Patterns objective. So that is probably a good thing to do because you get 1 point for every color token in the set. So that would connect these 3 and it would be worth a total of 4 additional points, whereas the token by itself on the second level is only worth 2 points. So it's probably a good thing for me to try to do that. But I only have 6 color tokens left, and I do want to try to get up on the top level before too much longer, because I do want to spread some of my color up there because it is 3 points for every token that you spread up the top. So yeah, I'm a little conflicted about what to do. Plus the cards might not factor in the way that I need them to.
Yeah, but another thing you do with the cards is you can flip them over too.
True. So I didn't mention this at the beginning of the video, but one thing that you can do, you always have to spread color on your turn. And usually you're going to want to do that by way of the front of your card, right? This right here. However, if you find that the cards in your hand are just not going to work that way, or if you would rather, you can turn one face down and put it into your discard pile, and then you can place one of your colored tokens anywhere you want on the level on which you're currently sitting.
Except for other paints, and
right.
You can't
any legal placement on your level.
Yeah.
So
no paints and you can't hit somebody.
Yeah, you can't hit somebody with this move, but you can't cover over anything except the sweets. But other than that, you can put one anywhere you want.
Yeah.
So on the level that you're on.
Yeah.
So I didn't mention that you could do that before, but an interesting thing, this is kind of a cool design aspect. So you turn that card face down onto your discard pile. So normally you discard everything face up and you turn this face down, right? Well, then that serves as a reminder to you because on your next turn, you're not allowed to do that again. So what happens is when you go to discard your next card, you flip this back over and then you put the discarded card back on top of it. So it's just kind of a helpful reminder that you've done that on your previous turn, you can't do it this turn.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah.
All right. Well, this is the midway of Holi, the Festival of Colors, and we'll get back to you guys in a little bit to see who is the winner and loser of this game and whose strategy played out. So, all right, toodles. Hello, Sarah.
Hello.
You were the color slinger of this town. So, this festival, you have done the best. You've slinged the most and in the right places of your color. So you got 50.
I got 71 points. No, 69 points.
I got 63. So in this game, I wasn't really paying. I knew what the bonuses were.
I got a lot of points for doing these.
You got a lot of point for the bonuses. But what I was trying to do is I was trying to see if you could kind of just shoot up the planes, and the higher you go, you get more points. And I was getting a lot of points on the second level and the third level, not so much on the first level, but it kind of worked out.
You actually, it was a good strategy because on the first level he only spent 6 of his tokens. They're a limited supply. Once you run out, like, you don't get any more. So he only spent 6 of his tokens on the first level, and then he had quite a bit by the time he got to the top level. I only had 2 left by the time I got up to the top level. So I could only get...
You got a lot of points from the special cards.
Yes.
Special scoring cards.
Yes.
And so it was just interesting because it wasn't like, you couldn't, like, take a crack at the game design and be like, does it break? Yeah, no, it stood up because it wasn't like I could just ignore all the things. I got points here and there. I got a good chunk, like 10, 15 points from the bonuses, end game bonus scoring. But yeah, this is a very interesting game, and I can see it being very more chaotic with more players.
Yeah, we're only playing with 2.
Throwing more paint everywhere.
Yeah, we're only playing with 2. You can play with up to 4, and I do think that it would be really different at a higher player count, just because...
it's just the space would be more congested and more clustered.
Yeah.
And so you'd have to think more. And actually, it might be like better to try to get higher faster because it's just gonna be kind of a madhouse. And I think more your cards will actually be useless, and you'll have to do more of that discard a card to place one. And so this is very interesting. I'm very excited to play more of this later on. But yeah, so what did you think, Sarah?
Well, I thought that it was definitely a unique experience. I liked being forced to think in sort of what's the word I'm looking for?
Dimensional.
Yeah, like a multi-dimensional way.
Yeah, because like there's that old 3D chess set of like the whole 3D chess. My gosh, I think
we're getting a little tired, I think.
No, we're just trying to make connections. But yeah, so there's that just different plane, and you're trying to think. Like, there was one point I was like, all right, let me just... Okay, all right, that's going to work. I'm not showing my hand at all by doing this.
Well, and I think one of the things that's really nice is they have these tiles along the outside edges of the board that have the letters and numbers. So you can say, okay, what would, if I'm looking at, space D2, what would that look like on this level? And then you can track D2 and you're like, okay, here it is right here. So it gives you an easy way to sort of figure out, on each level, which space corresponds to which.
Yeah.
Which I think that was a nice, subtle way to address that, so that you don't have to stand up and stare over the top of it and try to figure out where things are correlated. And there's definitely some points in the game where you have to kind of figure out, okay, on, level 3, if I put this here, will it end up on level 2 or maybe even level 1 if I do that? And the number and letter sort of banners along the outside edge of each level is useful for that. You can kind of subtly look so you're not tipping your hand about where you're trying to...
Yeah. Just don't mind me.
I mean, you can do that too, I guess. But But the letters and the numbers on the grid really help
they
with that
really
as well.
help you if you take just the time to use your brain a little bit instead of going around. But sometimes that's just how I want to view it. Is like, okay, this makes sense faster. But yeah, it's a good little strategy components to the game. You gotta make sure you're placing your things in the right places, and you don't want to give your opponents the upper hand. And sometimes you just throw some paint somewhere and you're like, I gotta do this so I can at least go up to the next level. But then all of a sudden you find out your opponent was like, oh, you just messed up all my plans. And you're like, oh, well, hey. And there was a couple times where I was blocking Sarah for coming up on another level.
Yeah, that was annoying.
First time I was just like, I sat there because I'm like, well, if I sit here and I throw a few more little paint paint cards, I can go up to the next level. And so, then she, was like, I'm going to go to the next level. Oh, wait, you're just sitting there.
Yeah.
Your little kitty is just sitting there all purty. But,
Poofy little tiger.
Poofy little tiger. But yeah, so, I like it a lot. I like how there's a bunch of the bonus cards.
Yeah.
There's
You
a
only
lot.
play with 2 or 3. And it says in the rules that you can leave them out entirely for a simpler game, or you can play with 2 or 3. It's recommended that you play with 2. There is a good stack, and you're only ever going to play with 2 or 3, so I feel like you could see a large, large amount of combinations there.
Yeah, I definitely recommend if you're a hobbyist. We thought about not playing with the cards at first, but then we kind of just dived in and see what that would mean. But if you play hobby games a lot, you'll catch on pretty quick.
And I actually really liked the subtle extra strategies that the cards could allow you to explore if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Like I had said at our midpoint of the video, there was that point where I was on the 2nd level, I believe, and if I could just get one of my colors to fall through to the bottom level, I would get additional points for one of the end of game scoring objectives. I was able to pull that off, and it got me an extra 4 points. And so it netted me 2 points because I would have gotten 2 points for the piece had it stayed on the 2nd level and only 1 piece for it if it landed on the bottom level. But it allowed me to connect 3 additional pieces on the bottom level with the 4th piece. So I got 4 points from the objective. And then I lost 1 theoretical point because it would have been worth 2 points if it was on the 2nd level. It ended up only being worth 1 point because it fell through and was on the 1st level. So I actually net 2 or 3 points by doing that. And all of that strategy was simply because of the end of game objectives that we were playing with.
Yeah. It was a good, it's a good time. We were playing a lot faster. Just because
the first time around we were kind of taking our time a little bit. The second time around we played, I think maybe it took us 25-30 minutes the second time around.
Yeah, so it takes 20 to 40 minutes, and if you play with more players, it's going to take longer. It's probably going to take more of that 30-40 minute range. But after your first couple games with Holi, you're probably going to play around 20 minutes.
It goes pretty quick.
It goes pretty fast because
on your turn you play a card.
You think you have a lot of these? They go real quick.
Well, and this game too, I actually ran out of tokens before I ran out of cards.
Yeah, I actually thought I wasn't gonna run out. I thought I was gonna have 1 left, and then all of a sudden it was like a Ticket to Ride situation where I'm like, oh my gosh, my trains are gone, guys, it's in the game. Sorry, but in this, it was definitely surprising because I played the rest of my bits out, and I was like, oh, well, that's it for me, because Sarah went out before I did, so I was getting some turns to finish out my game, and so after, I think it was only maybe 1 other turn, and then I was done, so then we went to scoring.
It's an interesting design decision to make it so that there's a sort of a variable number of turns for each player, because what happens is when you run out of cards to play on your turn, or if you run out of your tokens, then the game ends for you. Even if other players still have cards and tokens, they get to keep playing. where you do not. So I actually I'm the blue character, and on my last turn I placed a couple of pieces, and then I went and hid in the corner because I thought
sling paint.
yeah. So if Nick was gonna throw powder at me, I was gonna try to make it kind of hard for him to get to me to do that.
Yeah, and
Because he still had like 2 cards, and I wasn't gonna have any more turns.
Yeah.
So he was gonna have at least a couple of turns, and I wasn't gonna have any more turns. So I had to I wasn't gonna be able to move again. So I was trying to stay away from him.
But yeah, pretty good game. Really enjoyed it. I really like these kind of like strategy, like, think outside the box, situations. So yeah.
I thought that it was really, really beautiful. And I think that it's an interesting game. It's definitely unique, right? I mean, look at this.
Oh yeah. This is going to be definitely like a table, got some table appeal.
Some table presence for
table
sure.
presence for sure. And people are going to be like stopping like, oh, what's this? And then, that's what actually stopped me at Tantrum Con 2020 when
Not 2020.
Right before, yeah, it was 2020.
Was it 2020?
It was 2020.
God, that feels like so long ago.
Yeah, at the beginning, we were able to go to
That would have been in
Con,
February, right? January, February.
January, February. But I interviewed this is when I first starting out, was learning very quickly about some things. But I would talk to the designer. I hope I'm not saying your name wrong. Julio, yeah. Julio. I talked with him, and his wife was there too, and they were showing off the game, demoing it at Tantrum. He's actually in North Carolina.
I think that was a prototype, wasn't it?
That was a prototype.
I remember they had sort of like plastic sheet sort of material that they were using for this part right here. This is like a hard plastic, yeah. And it was actually you have to put it together to begin with, but once all of these edges are like set in, you'll only ever just have to put this part together, which isn't hard to do.
No.
And I thought that it was a pretty creative and intelligent way to sort of master this physical design. They wanted these 3 tiers, and they wanted you to be able to see, through. If you look like over the top, you can actually see like down inside of the other. I don't know how well the camera is capturing all of that, but you can actually like see through, every level to the next one. And so I think that like using these sort of components to facilitate the design they wanted was pretty smart.
Yeah, it's a pretty unique game.
It feels really satisfying too when you hear it take this. It feels really satisfying too when you go to drop your pieces in. Let me just pretend I've got these in my hand. So when you go to drop your pieces in, these are like little tiny recessed trays. So when you drop them in, they kind of stay in there, And when you're fishing the treats out, you can kind of push up on the ledge, and it like just sort of pops right out like that. So it feels really satisfying to play on this surface. Plus it looks good, and it did what they needed it to do for the design of the game. I think I have never personally gotten to go to any kind of Holi festival before, and they seem really, really neat. I don't know how well this captures, that sort of feeling. It did make me sort of wish that I could do this in person instead of, in this sort of board game experience. I was like, I would rather actually be a part of a Holi festival and get to see and experience it in real life instead of in this sort of like tabletop version of it. But it was, as far as a board game goes, I still think it was a really neat experience. So
nice. All right, well, that was us talking and playing Holi, the Festival of Colors from Floodgate Games. We hope that those that I think this is a Kickstarter too.
It was a Kickstarter.
So all the backers, I hope you're all enjoying it. And then once it comes to retail, everyone else gets to enjoy this wonderful game. All right, well, until next time, we'll talk to you guys later. Toodles!